What is up, Karma Nation? Welcome here to our next edition of MMA Live, where we are rocking a very, very special live stream episode here today because we have a Millie Maker. Bales, this remind me. I think we just talked about this recently, but this is not the first Millie Maker, but this is probably out of all of them they've ever had. What number is this in your mind? How many Millie Makers have they had for MMA? Because I feel like there's very, very few they've had.
No, this is the first. They've
Out
had
of
a million.
the history of MMA DFS, this is the first Millie Maker ever.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, they have had the $1 million prize pools, but never a million to first. I don't think.
Gotcha. So it is special. So we are rocking here with some MMA DFS Live with our MMA GOAT, Bales, who is here to answer every single question you can possibly have about anything MMA, or just if you have any life questions you want to ask Bales. As you see, he's got his hair pulled back, so he kind of looks like one of those like life gurus too.
That's what I'm going for now.
That's what he's going. He's going for the life guru.
I've changed my life direction.
Oh man, but yeah. So just all you gotta do is ask your questions in the chat. That's why we do these live streams, so we can answer them while we chit chat back and forth about this slate. Now, if this is your very first time tuning into anything DFS Karma, especially the MMA stuff, something that Bales always professes is that MMA DFS is an extremely volatile sport. So when it comes to like MLB or NFL or the other sports you might play, oh hey, let's do this much cash, this much GPP. But Bales, you can go further on this, but this MMA in a nutshell, not even slate specific, is just a very heavy GPP because one person can slip on their own blood on the ground and knock themselves out. So it's crazy how one thing like that could change everything. So you go ahead and talk more about the volatility.
Yeah, you can. I think it's pretty simple. If you're planning on playing MMA over the long run, like cash games, like do your normal split of cash and GPP. That's fine. You can even go more GPP heavy if you want. I've literally no issues with that. If you're just like, oh, it's a big card or a pay-per-view, I'm only playing this one and whatnot, just play tournaments. Don't play cash, because to win cash games, you need to play over the long run. Just because, since quarantine, I believe the first card had 3 split decisions or something. I think I disagreed with all 3 of them. Every week, there's just the judges are screwing you. Dominic Cruz was standing up the other week, and the ref called the fight. If you want to, a lot of people argue the fight should have been over by then. Sure, if he wanted to end it earlier, that would have been fine. I wouldn't have cared. But once a fighter's standing up, there's just so many elements on top of just all it takes is one punch. You literally need to mess up one time, and there's a chance that you could get knocked out. But then the ref is kind of an outside factor that adds to the volatility. The judges are just, I'm assuming they're going to be better now because they're in Vegas over Florida, but there's just so many outside
Wait,
factors.
Hold on. You're saying the judges are going to be better because it's in Vegas over Florida? What?
Yeah, judges in Florida are
just notorious for just being trash judges.
Yeah, potentially the worst in all of MMA. The only reason I say potentially, they're probably I would say they are the worst MMA judges in the world, but Brazil gives Brazilians wins. So it's difficult. I think judges in Florida are just dumb, I guess. I don't know how to say it.
We all dumb down here.
Yeah, judges from Brazil, they're not, they know that they're just giving the hometown fighters points and stuff. The judges in Florida, I don't know what they're doing. So no, as soon as they said they were going to run more events in Florida, and I think they did 3 or 2, and they got out of there quick because it's just so bad.
Gotcha. All right. So that being said, how this is going to work in a nutshell is we're going to go through Bales' favorite plays in certain tiers. So you get the top tier range of all the salaries. DraftKings specific is what we're talking about. But of course, if Bales really likes somebody and he's not really tossing out DraftKings salaries, I really like this person in this matchup. I mean, if you're betting on it or doing FanDuel, it's not this live stream is not 100% DraftKings. You can use the insight for any of those options. That being said, we're gonna do top tier, mid tier, low tier. I believe Monkey Knife Fight has stuff for this one. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I know PrizePicks always has MMA fights.
Yeah, Knife Fight does. I haven't looked at them very much though.
Okay, so you work on pulling that up, and then so Prize Picks also. Bales has already been dropping Prize Picks plays for this event, even as early a couple days ago, in our Discord. Now, for this particular one, this is a very special fight, not just because it's the first Millie Maker, but we are also giving away all of our MMA core plays for this event, all of our MMA prop plays on Prize Picks, every single one of our MMA Monkey Knife Fight plays as well. All of that is 100% free. If you want the MMA stuff, which of course you do because you're watching this and you like money, just like we like winning money, on Twitter, send us a DM of a screenshot showing that you're subscribed to this YouTube channel. So all you gotta do is subscribe to this YouTube channel, click the like button right now on this live stream, subscribe to this channel, shoot us a DM on Twitter, and if for some reason you're completely against creating a Twitter account just to get all this good stuff, then you can easily send us an email, support@DFS Karma. So either email us, shoot us a DM on Twitter with the pic showing us that you are subscribed to this channel, and we will get you in the Discord. You'll get all of these plays for this Millie Maker tonight for free. So that being said, we're going to be also touching on some bets there at the end of the prop stuff as well that Bales has already been dropping in Discord as well. So if you were already in there, then you would already had all this good stuff locked in. So that being said, tell the people what your salary ranges are for top, mid, and low, so they know how they're split up here.
Yeah, well, we can just go 88 higher for top, and then we'll go 8K to 87 for mid, and then below 8K because the 8,000 is where the underdogs start.
And then since you have been playing MMA DFS pretty much since its inception, how would you, I guess, describe this particular salary, or how is the pricing of salary for this particular slate? Is it anything like crazy far off?
No, this one's actually difficult. There are some fights that I'm like really interested in targeting just because they're close, but like the last few fights, guys have dropped out and they've brought in replacements on like a few days' notice. So we've had guys that are like 7,300 that are minus 300 favorites. So it was just so easy to lock them in. That's not really the case this week. I think the pricing is actually really good this week. So I don't really have anyone that I necessarily think you have to lock in. There will be for cash games, but for tournaments, it's basically a free for all. Except for like obviously you're going to avoid guys that don't have any upside or anything like that. But just in terms of pricing, there's no one like that was as big of a lock as Rodriguez last week because we knew he was going to dominate his price.
And I know this is a question more for the end of the stream when we start talking about betting a little bit, but is when the first Vegas odds came out on all of these fights, was there anyone who was posted as an underdog that completely blew your mind? Like this person's like in your mind is going to be definitely winning this fight. Is there any like Vegas odds that jumped up as like, what the heck? Why is this like this?
No, the odds that there were odds that jumped off the page, but nothing from an underdog. It was Chase Hooper. I think he opened at like minus 120 or something, and he's currently like nearing minus 200. I was gonna place a bet on him when I first saw the odds, and then I just completely forgot. And as it got closer, his odds just kept creeping up, and I don't really want to pay what he is anymore. I think his odds are actually a little too high at this point, but he's like nearing minus 200, and he's only 8,500 because they put the pricing out when I think he was like a minus 150 favorite or something. So if there is anyone that has odds value, it's Chase Hooper.
Gotcha. So that being said, let's move into the DFS portion. The top tier range. Who is your favorite play out of everybody in there?
Yeah, so I'll say quickly, I also outlined a top tier, mid tier, low tier play for my article. So I'm not going to use any of them. So you'll basically get 6 people from me because Dave's not on this week. So I won't use anyone in my article. You can just go read that and see who else I like. But for the high tier, it pretty much has to be Amanda Nunes. I mean, she's just looked absolutely dominant since she started training full-time for MMA. She knocked out Cyborg with relative ease, who a lot of people thought was relatively easily the best women's MMA fighter in history. Now, obviously, that's not the case. Amanda Nunes has taken over. She's fighting at 145, so there's not that much competition. And it's just a reason someone like Spencer gets this fight. In 2019, she got absolutely throttled by Cyborg for 3 rounds. It was impressive that she didn't get knocked out. I mean, she can take a beating, but Nunes is a different kind of monster. Honestly, I see this one finishing. I currently have a bet on Nunes to knock her out in the first round. That is more or less because FanDuel gave boosted odds for that. So if you're just looking at it, and I think it was at like plus 250 or something, I wouldn't play that. But I think FanDuel boosted up to plus 350, and which I mean, there's just those odds are too wide for what should happen here. And I think you're starting your cash games most likely with Amanda Nunes.
All right, now what Bales was referring to, if this is your first time being exposed to anything DFS Karma, there of course is a website if you weren't aware of that. It's very easy to remember because it's right above my head, dfskarma.com. dfskarma.com. You can go to the homepage itself. You can see Bales' MMA articles, or if you just go to other sports, click on MMA, and then click on MMA articles, you can see them there as well. But yeah, so he already has this top tier, mid tier, low tier, and he's like he's saying he's going to be picking different fighters. So you're getting 6 collectively. Just make sure you go to dfskarma.com to check out that article to see what his other favorite plays are. That being said, moving on to the mid-tier range, who else besides your article are you looking at?
Yeah, this is Chase Hooper. He's the second guy you're going to insert into your cash games. I mean, he's minus 200 now. I just checked it. He's minus 111 to win inside the distance. He's facing basically a gatekeeper. That's what Kara says is. He's not overly athletic. He's solid all around, but he gives up his back so much. It's ridiculous. And that's exactly what Hooper's good at. I promise watching this fight, when it starts standing, you are not going to be impressed by his striking. You probably will get a little worried. But realistically, Hooper's probably just going to pull guard or something ridiculous to turn this into a grappling match. And once that happens, I doubt it's overly long before he just takes Karas's back and subs him. So, I mean, at 8,500, you're getting the grappling upside, assuming he can take this fight to the ground. But like I said, if he doesn't, he's going to pull guard. It will get to the ground. You just won't get points for the takedown then, but you'll get advances and whatnot. So Hooper's way too cheap for his odds right now. He's also going to be one of the highest owned fighters on the card. And he's not, I think he's only 20 years old. He's the youngest fighter in the UFC. And I don't think he should be a minus 200 favorite. Personally, I think it should be down around like 170, 180. But I think right now, just for his price, you have to use him in cash. I do think that you can fade him in tournaments and just hope that either one, he can't get it to the ground, or two, if he does, he can't finish with a choke and he just basically gets advances and whatnot for a decision win, or realistically a loss. It could happen. But I do think in cash, you're basically locking in Nunes and Hooper and then moving on from there.
Now, before we get to this, the cheapo range for your favorite plays, is there, looking at the entire slate, in your mind, is there a play that you are saying if this person is most likely going to be in the Millie Maker winning lineup? Is there anything that comes across on any salary, just anybody in the entire slate? Like, I believe this person is going to be in the Millie lineup.
Yeah, there's a few, but I would say Alonzo Menafield. If I have to just pick someone, I have a hard time believing it's anything outside of a first round knockout for him. Just depends on if he gets the knockdown and how many significant strikes he lands. But I mean, he's got 120, 130 fantasy point upside, and he's only 9,000, so he's well cheaper than someone like Nunes at 9.4. So he doesn't quite need a score as well. But I mean, there's a bunch of guys that, if it goes their way, they'll end up on the, obviously. But I think if like there's one guy that I'm locking into my Millie teams, it's going to be Menafield.
All right. That being said, let's move on to the last tier, the bottom cheapo tier. Remind everybody what this tier is in terms of salary range, and then your favorite overall play.
Yeah. So for anyone under 8,000. Man, there's some guys that I like, but I think I'm gonna have to go with something crazy that most people probably aren't going to agree with, and I mean I understand it. Evan Dunham 7,300. We have seen his cardio be fantastic. He scored 130 almost against Rick Glenn in a decision win. So he doesn't need the finish. So when you're looking at his odds to finish and they're not great, he doesn't need them as long as he's performing well. The issue with him is that he retired 2 years ago and he came back to take this fight on 1 week's notice. What he's been doing in those 2 years, I don't know. If you look
I mean,
at the
does he
way
look like he's gained like 100 pounds?
no, he used to fight at 155 and he took this fight at a catch weight at 150, so he's actually fighting lower than what he normally was, which leads me to believe that he's probably fine, I would guess. The big concern with him is that in his last two fights, he just can't take body shots well at all. I don't know necessarily if the 2 years off is going to help that. I'm hoping it does. He gets a matchup against Herbert Burns, who comes with a lot of power and has really solid BJJ. The only issue is that he's not really a complete fighter and UFC level at this point. So I will say Dunham is the more talented fighter in terms of technical ability where he's at right now. The only issue is he's old. He showed that he can't really hold up anymore. So you're getting who has more current talent right now. You're getting the fighter that has more talent at this very moment for super cheap. It's really just whether or not his body can hold up. And I mean, I think Herbert Burns is a fantastic tournament play, but I think that most people are also going to think that way. So if you can get Dunham at 7,300 and he beats Burns, even if he doesn't drop the 130, like if he scores a normal thing at like 75 fantasy points for 7,300, you're going to be well ahead of a lot of the field, which is something that I'm willing to take a shot on. If you're new to MMA, you can play both sides of a lot of fights, and this is a fight where I'm fine with either side.
All right, let's move things on to the prop portion of this live stream. Starting things off with Prize Picks. I know you posted, I believe, 2 or 3 players in our Discord MMA channel. Because Prize Picks and Monkey Knife Fight, they are prop sites, and these numbers are constantly changing, especially when Bales says, hey, play this. Zillions of people of Karma Nation say, okay, and they plug it in, and then all of the numbers skyrocket in whatever direction. So are the numbers of what you dropped in Discord yesterday still good enough for you to go over, under, or whatever you did, or if they changed enough where you like 2 fighters better at their current numbers as of this live stream this very second?
Let me quick see where the numbers were at versus where they are now. So Menafield only went up to 91. I'll go over on Menafield. If it's a first round knockout, he gets 90 for the win. And I mean, he just needs to land 2 strikes then to hit, or I guess 3 strikes.
What if it's a 1-punch knockout though?
Honestly, with this fight, I wouldn't even be shocked at that. It's just the odds are so unlikely that I'll take my chances. And the other one was Hooper at 80, and he's at 84. Realistically, if he wins, he probably still hits the over, but I would probably swap him out right now with Neil Magny over 70.7. In a decision win, he should score north of 71, so I don't really have any issues with that. I also said Sterling. Sterling was over 66.9. Still, if he wins, he's going to hit over 70. It's just whether or not you think he wins. I am slightly leaning towards him. I think he comes with more risk than someone like Magny, because I don't think he's as even like relatively close to as big of a lock. But I don't really mind the numbers that they put on him.
And so how Prize Picks works is so Bales, I think he just tossed out like 4 different guys. So you can either do what's called a power play or a flex play. Now, a power play is where if you just say 3 of his fighters you just picked, and you do a flex play. If one of those misses, so if he says over so-and-so at so many points, but they go under that, you can still win your play, your Prize Picks contest, because you only need to get 2 out of 3, but your payout for winning is just a little bit less. If you do what's called a power play, every single thing you pick in a power play has to hit, but you get a higher payout when it does. That being said, so do the safer route on Prize Picks here, just because of the volatility. Do those 2 out of 3s. Do those 3 out of 4s. Take the profit where you can. Do you have Monkey Knife Fight pulled up by any chance?
Yeah, I have it. I found a play I like.
All right, what is it? Hit us with the Monkey Knife Fight.
Yeah, it's just going to be Alonzo Menafield under 152.5 and Devin Clark under 97.5. Like I said, I expect this to end relatively early. If Menafield gets like if we assume he gets the knockdown and the win, he'll need like nearly 40 significant strikes to hit the over. I don't honestly think Clark can eat that many from him, so I don't really see a reason to believe that. The only real issue with this one will be if Clark can somehow walk in there and take him down. I don't think it's overly likely. Menafield is just a physical specimen, and Clark realistically is not. Menafield's going to be much larger in the octagon. Clark doesn't shoot from the outside, really. He gets up on him and tries to take him down that way. I don't think he can overpower Menafield, so I think this is a first-round knockout, and I don't think Menafield's going to need the 40 significant strikes, honestly.
All right, and then moving on to the last portion of this live stream, the bets. Now I know on our Bet Karma Discord you've dropped a lot of like 2-pick and 3-pick parlays in there. Out of everything that you've dropped, granted the odds are still around the same. What is the number one, whether it's a parlay or just a single bet, your number one play with odds as is right now on this live stream?
Yeah, the number one play for odds for me is going to be Sean O'Malley wins via decision at plus 310. I mean, it's crazy to me. He came back, and this is all recency bias. He came back and had a very quick knockout. It was nice, but he gets a matchup against Eddie Wineland, who is a very odd striker. O'Malley should easily win this fight, but Wineland does not get knocked out very often. He's been around for a while, and when you look at O'Malley, his power hasn't really translated that much to the UFC. I know that he's bigger now because he had 2 years off, a little over 2 years off, actually, and he obviously put on weight, but he's still fighting at the same weight class. So I have no issues with that. And it is a realistic chance that O'Malley walks in and knocks him out. But for plus 310, I don't know. It just seems way off. And I'll take a decision victory there.
Now, I'm trying to remember what the fighter name was you talked about at the very beginning. The guy that was minus 120, now pushing to 200. Now, that fighter, what was...
Chase Hooper?
Yeah, Hooper. I was going to say like Hopper. I don't know. Hooper, because you're saying he's a little too expensive at not minus 200 now, does that give any playability to his opponent with their odds being juicier?
No, I don't. I mean, I think you can take a shot on him if you want. I don't necessarily see MMA is tough where like just because a guy's a very large favorite, I don't necessarily think that means that there's definitely value in the opponent, where in other sports oftentimes you will take that because some of these fights just get to the point where you don't want to pay that price.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's not overly likely that person loses. So, I mean, I know some people that would be like, if there's value, I'm betting it. I'm not really one of them, specifically with underdogs in MMA. I think you can take a shot on him if you want. But realistically, I would probably rather just bet a different fight. I'm just not going to bet Chase Hooper. But I'm not personally going to go on Caceres either.
Ford asked a question. He wants to know, I'm guessing this is for prize picks just because it's an individual fighter, but he wants to know if you like Clark over. I guess he could give you one name. It's a prize picks play.
Clark's not on prize picks.
So yeah, Ford, try to give us, I don't know, a Monkey Knife Fight maybe. I don't know if he's maybe he's looking. You gave him a 2-2, so maybe there's a 3-3 with those two guys in there, and he's gonna see if you like Clark over or not.
No, Clark under on Monkey Knife Fight.
What's his current number right now? You're seeing
97.5.
So you want to go under 97.5. So yeah, Ford, I'm because he's not on prize picks, assuming you're referring to Monkey Knife Fight. Bales, I guess, if it's Monkey Knife Fight, just answer your question of going under on that. But in the few seconds we have left of the stream, if you want to kind of clear things up, if it's not Monkey Knife Fight or what you're referring to as Clark over, we can dabble more on that. But that being said, is there anything else that you want to throw in here that you feel is insightful information for people who want to win $1 million today?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is gonna look so bad come midnight tonight. But no,
this stream gets deleted. Whatever he says, just edit it out.
Didn't happen. I'm avoiding Sean O'Malley in the Millie Maker just because he's gonna have high ownership. I think this goes decision. I know he can score well in the decision, but it's just difficult for me to use him when you got guys like Menafield, Burns, Bird, even Hooper for so much cheaper, and Amanda Nunes for 100 more. If you're running multiple lineups, obviously feel free to use O'Malley. If you're just running like a couple or one, I'm not personally going to use him. I think that his ownership's going to be way too high, and he needs to score extremely well to hit value. So I think it's a smart play if you're only running one or two or a couple lineups just to not use him and just try to get a little bit of leverage over the field.
All right, and the very last thing here before we wrap the stream up, what is your number one hot take of this card? So when it hits, we can clip it and throw it up on the social medias. Give me your hot take of something that is far-fetched but you believe could happen so we can clip it when it does.
Oh, man. Brian Kelleher wins in the second via submission.
You heard it here, folks. What are the odds of that happening exactly? Like plus 5,000
of exactly that happening. Let me find his fight. I can't even there.
In the second by submission.
In the second, they don't even have it there. Let me check FanDuel. I think they'll have it. It can't be good odds. I can tell you that shit. They don't. His odds to win in the second are plus 1,400, and his odds to win by submission are plus 800. So in the
go for the second round
submission, you can probably get pretty good odds on that.
All right, so yeah, there's our hot take. We're going to clip that when it happens and then post it up on Twitter. Appreciate everybody tuning in here, Ford. Hopefully that answered your question. We're assuming it's Monkey Knife Fight. But make sure you guys subscribe to this channel. Once again, we are giving away 2 dates. So there is a Million Maker. Right now, it is 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're watching this replay, this is when we're going live. Lock on DraftKings, I believe, hasn't changed. It's 6:20 p.m. Eastern Time. So there's roughly 6 hours left for you to watch this replay. Go back and forth. Ask Bales all the questions you have in our Discord MMA channel. And like I said at the beginning, this slate, we are giving away all of our MMA core plays, all of our MMA props for Monkey Knife Fight and Prize Picks and bets as well. So the stuff that you hear on the stream, this is just like 10%, not even 10%, probably 5% of all of the MMA content we have in our Discord chat. We're giving all the way for free, but all you have to do is subscribe to this YouTube channel that you are watching this very second. Hit subscribe, take a screenshot on your phone if you're watching on your phone. If you're on desktop, take a print screen and email it to us or DM us on Twitter. Our Twitter account is at DFS_karma. Shoot us a DM there with the pick. We'll get you in ASAP. You'll get all of the MMA content for tonight's slate. If you don't have Twitter for whatever reason, that's fine. Shoot us an email support@dfskarma.com, and we'll get you in there as well. We're hoping somebody in Karma Nation here takes down the Million Maker. We've had a lot of there's a lot of positive momentum in DFS Karma with KBO and NASCAR and all these stuff going. So we're riding this train, and it's going to be peaked by somebody in Karma Nation taking down the Million Maker. I just feel it. I feel it in my bones, in the veins. So if you do win with the content that Bales dropped right here on stream or the content that Bales is dropping in our Discord, make sure that you take those winning screenshots, throw them up on Twitter, and tag the man at Bales S. Justin, as well as the home account at DFS_Karma. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Good luck, and we will see you here for our next stream, which is tomorrow at noon Eastern Time for me and Dave with NASCAR Live. We'll see you